Hello students, welcome back to NEET Srikanth YouTube channel. So today we will discuss about cell wall. What is today's topic? Cell wall. So you can observe the any type of cell. Any type of cell is surrounded by a thin layer that is called cell membrane. That is called cell membrane. For example, I am going to draw a rough diagram of the plant cell. So for example, this is a plant cell and this one is a animal cell. Animal cell. This is a plant cell nucleus and this one is a large vacuole and this is the animal cell nucleus. Both plant cell and animal cell are covered by PM, covered by PM or CM, nothing but cell membrane. Plant cell, either animal cell, both cells are cell membrane. You can observe the animal cell. Animal cell is only surrounded with the cell membrane or plasma membrane. Then plant cell, outside the plasma membrane, another layer is present. You can observe the plant cell. Outside the plasma membrane, here another layer is there, outermost layer. That outermost layer is known as the cell wall. Cell wall only present in the plant cell. You can observe the animal cell. In animal cell, there is no question of cell wall. Where it is present? Cell wall present in plant cell as well as fungi and some of the prokaryotic organisms like bacteria. Okay, which organisms have the cell wall? Generally, cell wall is seen in the plant cell, fungi and prokaryotes like bacteria. Okay. Then animal cells does not have the cell wall. Animal cells does not have the cell wall. Then what about the cell wall? Where it is present? Cell wall is the outermost. Cell wall is the outermost non-living rigid structure. Once again, cell wall is the outermost protecting non-living rigid structure, non-living rigid covering layer which is present in the plant cell, fungi and some of the prokaryotes like bacteria. Okay, you can observe the plant cell. Okay, this is the plant cell nucleus and this is a vacuole. Okay, then outside the plasma membrane, another layer is present in the plant cell, that is a non-living rigid structure, outermost layer, that is known as the cell wall. Okay, you can observe the plant cell where the cell wall is present. Cell wall is present outside the plasma membrane and it is a non-living rigid protective layer. Non-living rigid protective layer. Where it is present? It is seen in the plant cell, fungi and some of the prokaryotes like bacteria. And you can observe the animal cell. Animal cell is also surrounded with the cell membrane. Plasma membrane is present in the animal cell. Plasma membrane are also called cell membrane. Is present in all type of cells. But there is no question of cell wall. Cell wall is absent in the animal cells. What is the second point, beta? Cell wall does not seen in the animal cells. Only plasma membrane is present in the animal cells. Then next. Then who was first to observe the cell wall? Okay, the cell wall, this is the cell wall. What about this one? This is a cell wall and this one is a plasma membrane. So cell wall was first observed by Robert Hooke in the year of 1665. Who was first to observe the cell wall? The cell wall was first observed by Robert Hooke in the year of 1665. In which plant? In oak tree. The Robert Hooke was the first person to observe the plant cell wall. In which plant? Oak tree. In oak tree. Okay, Robert Hooke was the first person to observe the cell. Who discovered the cell? The cell was first discovered by Robert Hooke and he was also write a book. The book name is Micrographia. At the same time, in the year of 1665, Robert Hooke was going to observe the cell wall in plant cells. What is that plant name? Plant name is oak. What is the plant name, beta? Oak. Then next. And the cell wall give the particular shape desired. Cell wall provides the definite shape to the cells. For example, you can take the prokaryotes. The prokaryotes is also have the cell wall like bacteria. So based on the cell wall composition, the bacteria have 4 different shapes. What are that? Already we know. Okay. So when the cell wall composition appears like the spherical shaped, now that is called coccus. What is that? The type of bacteria is known as, shape of the bacteria is known as coccus. When the bacteria cell wall composition is appears like the rod shape, now that will be called bacilli. That will be called bacilli. When the bacteria cell wall is appears like the comma or incomplete spherical shaped, that is called vibrio, or in helical shaped, that is called spirillum. So what do you understood in this? That means the cell wall provides desired shape to the cells. Okay, for example, bacteria have 4 different shapes like cocci, bacilli, vibrio, spirillum. Spherical shaped, rod shaped, comma shaped and helical shaped. How bacteria seen in this type of shapes? Because of the composition of the cell wall. So cell wall is going to give the particular shape to the cells. Then next. So cell wall also protect the cells from the mechanical damage also. Okay, mechanical damage as well as infections. Cell wall is the outermost non-living rigid layer. So that's why it is protect the cells from the mechanical damage as well as infections. What about the infections? So for example, you can observe the plant cell. Plant cell is infected by many number of pathogens. Okay, so infection is nothing but the cell wall is also infections are nothing but the cell wall is also protect the cells from the harmful pathogens. Okay na beta? Okay, అర్థమవుతుందా? Next, cell wall also prevents the cell bursting due to endosmosis. First of all, what is the meaning of endosmosis? Endosmosis is nothing but, for example, this is a cell and this is the outside of the cell. So now outside of the cell, excess amount of water is there. So water percentage is going to excess at the outside of the cell. So now what happened? Inside of the cell is less amount of water is there. Now the water molecules are moved from high concentration region to low concentration region. That means water is transferred from outside to inside. When water moves from outside to inside, the cell size will be increased. Cell will be swallowed. So in these cases, the cell is going to burst. Okay? But plant cells have the cell wall. What is the outermost layer in the plant cell? Cell wall. So when endosmosis is happened, what is the meaning of endosmosis? Endo means inside. Osmosis, the movement of water from outside to inside, is known as the endosmosis. Due to the endosmosis, it is going to penetrate the walls of the cell. Now what happens? Cell will be going to burst. But the plant cells have the cell wall. Due to the having of the cell wall, when endosmosis is happened, but there is no question of cell bursting. So cell wall is also prevent the cell bursting due to the endosmosis. Is it clear, beta? Then next, cell wall also helps in cell to cell interaction, and it is also provide the barrier for undesirable molecules. What is the first one? Cell wall is also helps in cell to cell interaction. For example, this is the 2 cells. One is the A cell, plant cell, and another one is the B plant cell. So both are plant cells, neighboring cells. So between the neighboring cells, the molecules are transferred from one cell to another cell through the cell wall. Some of the molecules are transferred through the cell wall. So that is called cell to cell interaction. And you can observe the cell wall, it is also provide the barrier for undesirable molecules. What about the undesirable molecules? Are nothing but macromolecules. Macromolecules, the molecules which are large in size. For example, here outside the cell, macromolecules are there. Now these macromolecules are does not easily pass into the cells. Okay, so here what is present? Cell wall is there. Here which is there? Cell wall is there. The cell wall is act like a barrier. It is act like a barrier for prevent the transportation of macromolecules inside to the cell. So that is called provide the barrier for undesirable molecules. The molecules which are large in size are called macromolecules. These macromolecules are, the movement of the macromolecules is going to prevent by cell wall into the cells. That's why it is cell wall is act like a barrier. It is act like a barrier. Okay, are you understood what about the barrier? Barrier, it is nothing but it is going to prevent the macromolecules transportation inside to the cells. Okay, then next. Now let us observe the cell wall composition. What is the next topic, data? Composition of cell wall. So you can observe the, already we know, we discuss where the cell wall is present. Cell wall is present in plant cell, okay, including algae. Algae is also belongs to plant. So next, fungi is also have cell wall. Fungi is also have cell wall. Some of the prokaryotes like bacteria is also have the cell wall. Then what about the cell wall composition in these organisms? Let us discuss. First of all, you can observe the algae. First you observe the algae. So algae is the autotrophic thallophyte which can prepare their own food material because they have chlorophyll pigment. What is the habitat of the occurrence of the algae? Algae generally found in the aquatic regions. So you can observe the algae cell. So this is a rough diagram of the algae cell. So the algae cell is have two layers in their cell wall. How many layers are there in the cell wall of the algae? 2 layers. Outermost layer of the cell wall of the algae is made up of with pectin. It is made up of with pectin. So generally algae present in the water. Algae is present in the water. So the outermost cell wall layer of the algae is made up of with pectin. So pectin is a sticky polysaccharide. So that's why it is going to dissolve in the. So algal cell have cell wall. The cell wall have 2 layers. Outermost cell wall is made up of with pectin. Pectin is a sticky polysaccharide. So when it is going to dissolve in the water, it can appear turns like a sticky nature. So that's why you can observe the algal members in the water. You can touch the algal members. You can feel the sticky nature because of the presence of the pectin. So inside the pectin, innermost cell wall layer is there. That is made up of with cellulose. Okay, and galactans. Cellulose, galactans, mannans, and also minerals like calcium carbonate. What are the cell wall components of the algae? Algae cell wall is made up of with majorly they have cellulose. Algal cell wall is made up of with cellulose. Including cell wall, they also have galactans, mannans, minerals like calcium carbonate. Is also present in the cell wall of the algae. Okay, is it clear beta? What is the composition of the algal cell wall? Algal cell wall, outermost layer is made up of with pectin, innermost layer is made up of with cellulose, mannans, galactans, minerals like calcium carbonate. NEET. Okay, is it clear? Now you can observe the fungi. Let us discuss about the cell wall composition of the fungi. So fungi, already we know it is a non-chlorophyllous heterotrophic thallophyte. You can observe the fungi cell wall. You can observe the fungi cell wall. The fungi cell wall is made up of with chitin. What is the cell wall composition of the fungi? Fungi cell wall is made up of with chitin. Okay, so chitin is, it is nothing but it is a nitrogenous. It have nitrogen. It is a nitrogen having nitrogen polysaccharide. It is a having of nitrogen polysaccharide. Or also chemically chitin is a N-acetyl glucosamine. N-acetyl, it can have, chitin is have many number of polymer of the N-acetyl glucosamine. N-acetyl glucosamine. Okay, so where the chitin is also present? Generally chitin is the present in the cell wall of the fungi, and you can observe the animal kingdom. In animal kingdom arthropoda, the organism name is cockroach. What is that? Cockroach. You can observe the exoskeleton of the cockroach. Exoskeleton of the cockroach is also made up of with chitin. It is also made up of with chitin. Chitin is the thickest, strongest cell wall composition. Where it is present? In fungi, cell wall is also made up of with chitin. In animal kingdom, exoskeleton of the cockroach is also made up of with chitin. This is a very, very most important in the NEET examination. You can observe the higher plants. Now let's discuss about the higher plants. Okay, so higher plants have the cell wall. The cell wall of the higher plants is made up of with mainly cellulose. Okay, the higher plants cell wall is made up of with cellulose, then hemicellulose, next pectin, and also have some other proteins. What is the cell wall composition of the higher plants? The plant cell wall mainly made up of with cellulose, hemicellulose, pectin, and some other proteins. Okay, then what about the cellulose beta? You can observe the cellulose. It is a polysaccharide. It is a polysaccharide. So you can observe the cellulose. Cellulose is the nothing but it is a polymer. Cellulose is a polymer of the carbohydrates. Polymer of the carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are nothing but sugar. Which type of sugar is present in the cellulose? Cellulose have beta D glucose. What is the type of glucose is present in the structure of the cellulose? The cellulose is a polymer of the beta D glucose. Beta D glucose. Many number of beta D glucose are present in the cellulose. The monomeric form in the cellulose is nothing but beta D glucose. So many number of beta D glucose carbohydrates are there in the polymer of the cellulose. This is a major cell wall component in the plant cells. Okay, plant cells are also made up of with cellulose. Algae is also belongs to plants, so that is also made up of with the cellulose. It is can have polymer of the beta D glucose. So the digestive enzymes are going to digest only alpha D glucose. The digestive enzymes are going to digest the alpha D glucose. So that's why the digestive enzymes does not going to digest the beta D glucose. So cellulose is, that's why cellulose is going to indigest in our body. Okay, so and also cellulose is the abundant carbohydrate on the earth. This is also very, very most important in the NEET examination. Beta, you can observe the cellulose. Cellulose is a major cell wall component in the plant cells, algal cells. So that's why it is the most abundant carbohydrate on the earth. Cellulose is the most abundant carbohydrate on the earth, most abundant carbohydrate on the earth. Why? Because most of the plant cells are all, cell walls are made up of with cellulose, and you can observe the cloths, cotton cloths, and also you can observe the cotton fiber, manufacture of the paper, it is also have the cellulose. So cellulose is the most abundant carbohydrate on the earth. You can observe the cellulose, it is a polymer of the beta D glucose. Okay, many number of beta D glucose are there in the structure of the cellulose. Okay, and cell wall is also helps in the transportation, being a part of apoplast. Then what is the meaning of apoplast? The movement of water through the non-living portion of the cells. For example, you can observe the root anatomy. Here root area is there, here epidermis, cortex, endodermis, then xylem is there. So the water is absorbed by the root air. Now it is transferred through the cell wall of the epidermal cell, then cell wall of root area is absorb the water, then it is water is moved through the cell wall of the epidermal cells, then cell wall of the cortex, then cell wall of the endodermis, now until they reach the xylem. So the water movement through the non-living portion like cell walls and cell gaps are known as the apoplast. So the apoplast transportation of the water is also done through the cell wall. Okay, then now next.